This is the lab portion of Section 1 of the JNCIA video series. This lab video will be a little shorter than some of the others to come, but I really wanted to go over a few things with you before we move on. If you have a Junos device ready to practice on as you go through this video series, that's great. Let's go over a few things that need to be done to get ready to use your Junos device. Now, you might have a device from work that your boss is letting you use for training in this course, or you may have purchased a used device. You might have something like an SRX, which is a very popular firewall line, or you might have something like a J-Series router. After all, those J-Series routers are probably your best bet at getting a Junos-based device on the cheap. You might also have something like an EX switch or something else. Regardless of which device you have, any of these would be a great choice for learning on. Just remember that some of the older devices run NetScreen OS and not Junos, like the SSG firewalls, and if you have one of those and expect to use it for this course, it's not going to work out. You can do a quick Google search on it if you need to find out which Juniper product lines run Junos. So the first thing you're going to need, other than the Junos device, is a console cable. You don't have to have a Juniper-specific console cable. If you have a Cisco console cable laying around, that will work too. Also, if your computer does not have a serial port on it, which a lot of computers and laptops anymore don't, you may need to purchase a DB9 serial to USB cable. You can pick them up at Radio Shack and Best Buy or purchase them online. You can also plug your computer into the device and get an IP address, but it's going to be best to use a console port with a console cable. Go ahead and plug your console cable into the Junos device and access the console. You can use a free program like PuTTY, which is what I will be using here. So if your device already has a configuration on it, you may already have a console username and password, so enter that information here if you need to. If the device asks for a login and you have not put a configuration on the device yet, just log in as root and it shouldn't ask you for a password. This will bring you to the command line. Let's elevate our command line to edit mode, so type in CLI and hit enter. Now type in edit and hit enter. Now we can make configuration changes. First thing we need to do is just go ahead and factory default the device to make sure we are working with a factory default configuration. So type in the command load factory-default and hit enter. Now we have loaded the factory default configuration. Now it is important to remember that before you commit the configuration and reboot the device, you have to enter a root password, so let's do that now. Otherwise, you would not be able to access the device after committing the default configuration. So type in the command set system root-authentication plain-text-password and hit enter. Then it will ask you for the new password. Type in your new password and it will ask you to type it in again. Alright, now we are ready to commit the default configuration. So type in the command commit and hit enter. It may take a few seconds, but then when it's done it will display the text commit complete. Now you can reboot the device. Issue the command request system reboot and wait for the system to reboot. Now we should have a clean slate to work with. Remember, if you were accessing this device via Telnet or SSH, you will likely lose your connection because we defaulted the configuration. This is why it's best to use the console port because we can make all the changes and wait, and it will not affect our connection to the device. So that's it. Now we are ready to use the device for labs and practice. Go ahead and explore the CLI and just remember that whatever configuration changes you make will not be applied until you issue the commit command. You can reboot the device after making changes, but before issuing the commit command to roll back any changes you made. Just make sure that if you do make some changes and commit them, just factory reset the device again before moving on with other labs.